Hey guys, when it comes to police warrants and how you should behave, the case study I want to talk to you about is my personal experience with it recently when we were dealing with the Mohammed Farah case. Mohammed Farah, and there is a link to this story that you can watch that Avery Haynes told this story on November 8th, 2013. Mohammed Farah was a man who claimed he was the broker who tried to sell Roth Ford's infamous crack smoking video. Now, just a little bit of background here, some of the timeline here. Our story aired on November 8th, 3 days after Roth Ford, after months of denial, finally admitted he smoked crack cocaine on November 5th, 2013. Mohammed Farah's story was important, is of great public interest, because he, in this interview, tells us about that there was possibly another video and how he was threatened by organized crime to turn over the video to them. Keep in mind, Mohammed Farah himself was facing charges. He was facing possessions of proceeds of crime and firearm offenses in the Project Traveler. Project Traveler, for a little bit of background, those raids happened in June 2013, and those raids unfolded in wake of the Mayor Ford crack scandal. There were police at the time were also investigating possible criminal connections to the mayor's office. So everything is sort of being folded into one giant ball here, for lack of a better term. So we had spent months, 6 or 7 months, negotiating with Mohammed Farah, getting him to finally get to talk to us. Like, it took a long time because he was nervous. He didn't want to do the interview. But the interview was on public interest, so we finally convinced him to talk. But now keep in mind here, when Mohammed Farah was talking to us, he had a reasonable expectation that he was not talking to the Toronto police. He was talking to City News. That City News would not simply say to the Toronto police, hey, by the way, guys, check this video out. That's not who we are. That City News was an independent news organization. The story went to air. Minutes after it went to air, we were alerted by Toronto police that they would be seeking a search warrant to seize our footage. We told them that that's fine. We will wait for the search warrant. They were free to look at any part of the interview that they wanted that we had aired, because that was for public consumption. Anybody can look at that. Go to our website and watch whatever we had aired, or record our air check and go to town. But the raw footage, the raw notes, those were off limits. After we had received the warning from Toronto Police, we took our concerns to our general manager, and we had a meeting with all the senior members. I was part of that meeting. And at that time, we had urged our general manager to fight the police seizure. Even by law, we were not going to win this case. That wasn't what we were after. We wanted everybody in the public to know that City News is an independent organization. We simply do not hand over our raw footage, our raw notes, or our raw audio to the Toronto Police. We hired a lawyer. The lawyer was looking at every legal argument, because we were not going to hand over our footage until we had exhausted every legal challenge, every legal argument, because our independence was of vital importance as a journalist. As it so happened, the case was thrown out of court. Police never had to actually ask for our footage. We never actually got to that point. But I want you to understand why it's so important for journalists to be independent. When you deal with police, there are stories that we have to actively cooperate with police. Stories that are of public importance, where public safety is paramount. Stories like missing children. If there's a missing toddler on the loose, of course we're going to work with the police, and we will tell those stories with passion that the city deserves. Stories of Amber Alert, when there's a murderer on the loose. Those stories, public safety is paramount. And you have to work actively with police to get that message out. But we are journalists. We also have to independently look at police actions themselves. We have to report on those actions with an impartiality that the public demands of us. Stories like police brutality, carding, inappropriate behavior by the police. Those stories are also important stories to tell. And the public demands that we do it in an impartial manner. So it's important to always be seen as an independent, impartial journalist. If you're seen as an agent of the police, ask yourself, why would anybody ever want to come talk to us? Why would an informant who has a great story to tell ever come talk to us? Because he's going to say, well, you guys are just going to hand it over to the police. Why should I talk to you? That's not who we are as journalists. We're independent and impartial. And if you ever find yourself in a position where police are going to seize your work, never do it without a warrant. And even if you're served with a warrant, it is not your work to hand in. Push it up the chain. Take it to your news director. Take it to your managing editor. Implore on them to fight it, to challenge it, because you do not simply want to hand it over without a fight, because your independence is at stake, your impartiality is at stake. And as journalists, those are our bedrock of our credibility. And credibility is everything.